Hello again, everybody. This is Rocket Rick J18, and today I'm going to talk to you about the rest of my pickups from the National, and I'm going to go through these in more or less in sort of the order by age of the cards. So the first card I'm going to show you is a 1951 Bowman uh, Mickey Mantle rookie card, and it's in a PSA 1. You can see that there are some heavy creases in the upper right hand corner, and in any case, I got this card slabbed at the National, and very happy to have it as a part of my collection. Not in the greatest of condition, but still, pretty nice looking for having some major creases in it. And in any case, I'm very happy to have it as a part of my collection. So, didn't buy this card at the National, but I did get it slabbed at the National. So, I'm not going to go into a lot of detail about some of these cards. I was able to pick up 6 1935 Gaudi cards. They're all pretty much commons except for the Earl Averill. And so I'm just going to, and if you'll notice, there are puzzle pieces on the back. And even though you might have a card which such as these, which looks like it's a different card, you can see same photographs but different picture back, and that's this is one of them, and here's the other one. And so you can see that they are different photographs on the back, and they are counted as separate cards in the checklist. So that's those. Here's a White Sox card. St. Louis Browns. Guess I'm going to have to put my glasses on so I can see. Well, concession to advancing age. So here's the last one. Long way to go in this set. Obviously, the two Ruth cards are the keys to this set. Another set that I'm working on, the 1940 Play Ball. I was able to pick up 10 cards from this set, including 2 Hall of Famers, Mickey Cochrane, card number 180, and Joe Cronin, card number 134. And then several commons. Just going to show these for a couple seconds each. I think there's maybe 162 cards in this set. Not quite exactly sure, maybe more. So in any case, again, a long way to go with respect to this set. This is the follow-up set to the 1939 Play Ball, which I showed you that set in its completed form. month or so ago. Someday I hope to show you this set. Okay. I also picked up quite a few 1958 football cards, and you know, some of the semi-stars, I guess you would say, would be Lou Groza, the Toe, Bill Wade, quarterback from the Los Angeles Rams, Willie Gallimore, halfback, Eddie LeBaron, really made his bones in the AFL. Jim Ringo, interesting story about him. He was a very good player, well thought of. His contract was coming up, and he went to Coach Lombardi, who was also serving as kind of the general manager. I mean, he did the negotiating with the players, and Ringo said that he was going to hold out unless he got a significant pay raise. And Lombardi excused himself, and he came back and said, well, you'll be negotiating with Wellington Mara because I've traded you to the Giants. So that was the end of the negotiations. Babe Parilli, who also made a name for himself in the AFL with the then Boston Patriots, later New England Patriots. Ted Marchibroda, who became a head coach later, I believe, with Baltimore. Alan the Horse Amici, of course, he's the guy that scored the winning touchdown in the greatest game ever played, the New York Giants versus the Baltimore Colts in the NFL championship game. I think it was 1958. It's John Henry Johnson, who became a great running back with the Pittsburgh Steelers. This shows him in the on the Detroit Lions. Earl Morrall, who played for the Baltimore Colts also, and played in a Super Bowl when Johnny Unitas was hurt. Steeler team card. The Steelers were pretty bad back in these days. They did have some success when they got Bobby Lane late in his career, and here's Hugh McElhenney, great running back with the San Francisco 49ers. Joe the Jet Perry, also with the 49ers. Leo Nomalini, tackle with the 49ers. Tobin Rote. Howard Hopalong Cassidy is a Heisman Trophy winner with Ohio State. Emlyn Tunnell with the New York Giants. Don Chandler, who later with the Green Bay Packers was a kicker, a punter, and place kicker. Kind of took over the kicking duties from Paul Hornung. Here's Bobby Lane with Detroit, where he did most of his work, but he did later get traded to the Steelers, and gave them some success. Wasn't able to take them all the way to a championship or anything, but he did advance the cause. Here's Joe Schmidt, Hall of Famer with the Detroit Lions. Roosevelt Brown with the New York Giants. Alex Webster, halfback with the New York Giants. Gino Marchetti, a Hall of Famer with the Baltimore Colts, and interesting personal sort of story. He lent his name to a chain of fast food restaurants, appropriately named Gino's, and they were very popular in the area I grew up in northern Delaware. Andy Robustelli, defensive end with the New York Giants and Hall of Famer. Here's Dick Nolan, who was a defensive back along with Tom Landry for the New York Giants. He later became head coach of the San Francisco 49ers. In the town that I live in West Virginia, his sister lived there, and I got to know her pretty well through my profession. And as a thank you for some work that I did for her, she got our whole family tickets to a Dallas Cowboy game when he was the coach there during Troy Aikman's rookie season. And we got to meet some of the players and got an autographed football, and it was really a wonderful trip. And we got to meet the coach Nolan, and had great seats. In fact, they were so good that his name slips my mind now. It's getting old, but the Cowboy running back from Pitt was a Heisman Trophy winner. You'll all say, how could you possibly ever forget his name? But I've forgotten his name. And the quarterback for the New York Giants prior to Y.A. Tittle, Charlie Connerly. So those are all cards that out of that 58 set. I have a complete set there, and I just kind of bought these because they were incredibly cheap, and they were players that I thought it might be nice to have an extra card of in my collection, so very happy to have those. And okay, so the next card that I have is Dick Groat Hires Root Beer with the tab. I only have a couple of these cards, but I really I love the knot hole effect, and the fact that it's I guess what some might call an oddball set. I'd like to get some more of these, and look forward to adding to my collection, but really happy to have the Dick Groat, a great player for the Pirates. Here's a 1959 Mickey Mantle All-Star. Love this picture. Love the set. The back is also very interesting and has some information about Mickey, and so really nice card to have. Got that in a SGC3. Was able to pick up from Stan's cards, well known from the Christopher Missouri videos. So here's Ted Williams. He hit a home run in the All-Star game, I think 1951, 1941. Anyway, hit a home run, win the game. There's a card commemorating the time that Carl Hubbell struck out Babe Ruth, Lou Gehrig, Joe Cronin, and two others. I think maybe Al Simmons might have been one of them. Anyway, he struck out 5 in a row of the American League's, greatest hitters. Pretty impressive. Here's the card commemorating Bill Mazeroski's home run to end the 1960 World Series. Still the only Game 7 World Series game to end in a home run, with a home run, a walk-off home run. Joe Carter ended the series in with the Toronto Blue Jays back in the 90s, but it was a Game 6 home run. Vernon Law commemorating his 1960 Cy Young Award. Here's a card commemorating the expansion of the American League from they were the first league to expand to 10 teams, adding the Los Angeles Angels and the Houston Astros, or Houston Colt 45s at that time. The National League expanded the following year. I think the Astros were in the National League then, so California, and right now it slips my mind who the the other team was the Washington Senators. Even though there had been a Washington Senators team in 1960, they moved to Minnesota, and a lot of people thought that Minnesota was the expansion franchise, but in reality they were the old Washington Senators, changed their name to the Minnesota Twins when they moved out west, and a new franchise, the Washington Senators, came in, and of course they later moved to Arlington, Texas, and became the Texas Rangers. This is a card commemorating Bobby Richardson's record for most hits in a World Series in 1960, and he's one of the very few, if not the only, most valuable player who from a losing team. So Bobby Richardson. This is the card commemorating Merkel's boner. He was on base, and when the walk-off hit took place, and then he was later called out because he didn't touch second base, which was required in order to allow the winning run to score. Here's the card commemorating Don Larsen's perfect game in Game 5 of the 1956 World Series. This is a card commemorating Bob Turley's pitching performance in the 1958 World Series, where the Yankees managed to get a 7-game World Series victory against the Milwaukee Braves. Bob Turley had a bowling alley in our hometown, and I won a Cub Scout bowling tournament, I guess you'd call it, and I think my average score for the tournament was 64. We weren't great bowlers. But the prize was a autographed Bob Turley baseball, and baseballs were treasured items. You usually didn't have too many baseballs. Oftentimes the cover had come off, and we wrapped electrical tape around them and played with them until they literally fell apart. But temptation to play with this baseball overcame the knowledge that the autograph would probably be eliminated. So that ball got played with until it fell apart. The autograph had long since been wiped out with grass stains and ball marks, bat marks and so forth, throwing it in the dirt and what have you, as happens with 9 and 10-year-olds. But later I did purchase an autographed Bob Turley ball, which I keep in my collection of baseballs, and it reminds me of you should not play baseball with your autographed baseballs. So just a word of warning. Here's a card commemorating Joe Adcock's game in which he had 18 total bases, 4 home runs and a double. Really, a career night for anybody, just about. I think the record has since been broken. I believe it's 19 now. Here's a card commemorating Walter Johnson's 56 scoreless innings stretch, later bested by both Don Drysdale and then later Orel Hershiser. That's Walter Johnson. Walter Johnson had 100 career shutouts. That's a record that will surely never be broken, not unless they change the use of pitchers. First of all, no pitcher will ever probably pitch 100 complete games. Usually if a pitcher gets 2 or 3 or maybe 4 complete games in a season now, it's a big deal. So Casey Stengel leading the Yankees to 7, his 7th World Championship. So that would have been 1958. Here's a card commemorating Mickey Owens' dropped third strike when the Yankee outfielder Tommy Henrich advanced to first base when Owen dropped the ball, or missed catching it, probably more likely than not. And in any case, the Yankees went on to win that game and win the World Series that year, which I believe was 1947. Here's a card commemorating the pitching prowess of Dizzy and Daffy Dean. Dizzy's real name was Jerome Hanna Dean, and Daffy's real name was Paul. So they had a great World Series together. One time they in a doubleheader, Dizzy Dean pitched a one-hitter to open the doubleheader, and Daffy Dean pitched a no-hitter to close it out. And Dizzy's comment, well, if I'd have known he was going to do that, I'd have done it too. So, a little amusing story about the Dean brothers. This is a card commemorating Christy Mathewson's 3 shutout victories in the World Series. I can't read the year here, and I've forgotten what it was, but possibly the greatest World Series pitching performance ever. Whitey Ford holds the record for consecutive scoreless innings pitched over, well, he had to have several years, so he didn't do it all in one World Series like Christy Mathewson did. And finally, here's a card commemorating Harvey Haddock's 12 perfect innings. I believe it was against the Milwaukee Braves, 1959, 58, 59, somewhere along in there. He gave up a hit to lose the game in the 13th inning, and but that's the longest record for perfect innings in a game, 12. So pretty amazing. And didn't get the win, didn't get a no-hitter, didn't get a perfect game. Not credited really with anything other than consecutive perfect innings. I have a little small collection of autographed Pirate cards, and I picked up a number of them. Here's at the National, here's Richie Hebner's 1970 Topps card, autographed. Here's 2 copies of the 1973 card, autographed Richie Hebner card. 2 copies of that. Here's the 1974 Richie Hebner. Very underrated player, I thought. I really admired his hitting and fielding ability as the Pirate third baseman. Here's Jim Rooker, another terrific Pirate pitcher in the mid to late 70s. He was the winner of Game 5 in the 1979 World Series, where the Pirates began their comeback from a 3-1 deficit to win the 1970 World Series, but started with Jim Rooker. And here's Joe Launette, Pirate coach during the 1971 series, and love to have a Danny Murtaugh autograph someday, but anyway, pleased to have the Joe Launette. Here's a card that I'm very excited to add to the collection. This is the Pittsburgh Pirate Roberto Clemente, KDKA, which is, for anybody who knows much about the Pirates knows that KDKA is the first radio station to broadcast a Major League Baseball game. And this card is from the personal collection of Roberto Clemente, his family, and it's in an authentic, even though I think it's in beautiful condition, so really pleased to have that. Here is a 1965 Frank Robinson Bazooka card. Frank Robinson was traded after the 1965 season to Baltimore for, I believe 8 players, and one of whom was pitcher for the Baltimore Orioles. And of course, in 1966, Frank Robinson won the Triple Crown and led the Baltimore Orioles to their first World Championship. Here's a copy of the 1962 Topps Rocky Colavito. I used my lunch money in 1962 to buy this card, along with the card number 1, Roger Maris. I don't regret that. I think that was a wise move on my part to use my lunch money to buy those 2 cards. And here's the Jim Kaat from 1962. It's his rookie season. The very first baseball game that I ever attended in person was in Minnesota at the old county stadium. And Jim Kaat was the pitcher. He pitched for more than 20 seasons in the major leagues, and I saw him in his first season pitch a 5-0 shutout against the Los Angeles Angels in a game where Vic Power hit 2 solo home runs and Zoilo Versalles hit a 3-run homer. And of course, great pitching performance by Jim Kaat. And here is the Yankee Manager's Dream card number 18, and this is in a PSA 5. And I think it's a well-centered card. Edges look good, corners look good. Not much chipping, no frosting. I think it's a great card of 2 of the greatest players in the history of baseball, Mickey Mantle and Willie Mays. So really thrilled to have that card. And then the last cards that I got were 3 1970 Topps Super cards. Frank Robinson, great player. Mel Stottlemyre, 120 games in the Yankees' last World Series performance before going on a fairly long streak of not getting into the World Series. And then, of course, by the end of his career, he was out of baseball. So that's Mel Stottlemyre. Here's Willie Stargell. So Willie's, again, a 1970 Topps Super. 1971, here's Dick Allen, a guy who probably should be in the Hall of Fame, and if it depended on my vote, he would be. So, Dick Allen. Roy White, probably the best hitter on the Yankees during the lean years from 1965 to 1976. This is a 1971 Top Super. Here's another Pirate pitcher, Luke Walker. And here's a guy who came up with the Phillies, who we thought maybe was going to be the next superstar, but he had some difficult time adjusting to the Major League Baseball with the Phillies. They sent him off to California, where he played for the Angels. I believe he won a batting title out there. Terrific hitter. Could have probably been better if he'd maybe had a bit more discipline, but that happens, and still a great hitter. 1971 Top Super. Here's a non-sports card, which I don't usually have an awful lot of those, but this is a Red Man Tobacco card of famous Native American chiefs, including Red Cloud, who was a terrific, tremendous chief, and you can maybe read about his history. And then these are the cards of some YouTubers and dealers that I met out at the National. Here's Eric 4-leaf cards, autographed. Glad to have that. Here's Stuke from Baseball Cards and Curiosities. Spent a lot of time with Stuke out there, as we talked about a little bit earlier. And really happy to have Stuke's YouTube card. Here's two cards from paintings done by Scott Reindeer Studios. There's the Hank Aaron, and it's number 44. And here is the Christy Mathewson Big Six. Again, Scott Reindeer Studios. Here's Orlando from Collector's Dream. And if you see right down here, that's Orlando's signature. So he graciously gave me one of his cards. Next year, I hope to have some cards of my own, custom cards. Again, I can't tell you how thrilling it was to spend time with Orlando. He is a great collector, a great YouTuber, and a great friend, I'm proud to say. Here's a couple of cards of dealers. Don Hantz is the gentleman who was willing to enter into the trade with me for, I gave him the Michael Jordan rookie and a 6 and some cash, and he gave me the Satchel Paige 49 Bowman in a 3.5. I'm just over the moon about it. I can't thank Don enough. So this is my public thank you to add to the personal thank you that I gave him several times. And here's Stan Sport Cards. He's the gentleman that I bought all of the Topps I mean, not tops, but the new card scoops, the small ones, and which I showed earlier. So that's all I have to show you today. That's basically all of those cards were acquired at the National, and that's, you know, I just had a great time, and those are the highlights. So this is Rocket Rick J 18, wishing that all your collecting dreams come true.